Greetings everyone. This video is going to talk about placing your switches for your light fixtures. I'm going to go over a couple of slides from this presentation just to show you or to tell you more about the symbols and what these switches are used for. This first switch, and as you see, the switch symbol is like a $sign with a single line going through it. And this particular symbol is a single pole switch for controlling a light fixture from only one location. Just like in your bedroom, if you walk in your bedroom, you reach around to where the light is, there's typically just one switch there for you to turn that light on or off. Sometimes there may be two switches. In that case, one's probably for the light and one's probably for the fan. And even though there's two switches there, there's actually two single pole switches in that box for performing two different roles. And a single pole switch will typically look like this if it's just a single switch. Now again, if you have two switches, what we call a double gang box. In other words, it has two switches in it. It's a box that is made to hold two switches. But we'll get more into that in just a moment. The next one is a double pole switch, which is used on appliance outlets of 220 volts, where two legs of power must be opened to stop power to the device. Very uncommon in residential applications. Sometimes a residence may request one for, let's say, maybe a garage type tool. Someone may be working with a lathe or some big drill press or something like that in the garage, and they may request a double pole switch in order to fully remove power from that heavy machinery. But typically you'll see those in manufacturing applications or in maybe in wood shops. The next one is a three-way switch, and that is used to control power to a load from two different locations, and typically that would be a light fixture or a fan. The three-way switch, okay, the symbol looks like this, but as far as a single three-way switch, it's going to look exactly like a single pole. You're not going to be able to tell the difference by looking at it from the outside. You'd have to actually get into it and take it apart and look at the switch on the inside to be able to see the difference between the two. Lastly, we have a dimmer switch, and this is a dimmer switch, a type of dimmer switch. This is a very common dimmer switch, but there are lots available out there on the market, lots of them with touch sensitivity and things like that. I would advise you to at least browse the Home Depot website for things like that and see what they look like and how they work. Better than that is actually to go to the store and actually get your hands on some of those things to see how they work and what they look like. But we all know what a dimmer switch does. It basically turns the volume of light up and down. There is another switch that I did not mention here. It's called a four-way switch, and again, it looks just like a single pole switch when it's in the box. You can't tell by looking at it that it's a four-way, but there may be a situation where you need to control light fixtures from more than two locations, which would be rare, but it does happen, and in that case, you would need a four-way switch. So the four-way would be able to control light fixtures from more than two different locations, so like three or four, maybe even more. I don't know. I'm not really positive on how that actually unfolds, how that works. Okay, now the next page, I've got some of those multiple gang switch boxes. So this box right here is a 2-gang. This one down here is a 3-gang. Okay, and you may have some of those in your house. But this is a double gang light switch. It may have two single pole switches in it, or it may have a combination of switches, such as this example that I got here. If switches are two-way or three-way, it must be indicated at each switch symbol. So if you have a triple gang box, in this instance right here, you may have a three-way, a two-way, and a single pole. Well, actually, probably not a two-way. And again, as I said, those are very rare. But you might have one single pole, a couple of three-ways, or maybe two single poles in a three-way, or maybe a single pole two-way or single pole three-way in a four-way. So that would have to be indicated at that box. But again, these are single gang. This is a single gang. And these are 2 gang, 3 gang down here. You can have multiple gangs. I've seen them personally with as many as 6 switches on a box. And that's it for actual lighting symbols and comparing them to what they would look like in real life. Now let's get over to Revit and I'll show you how to place these. Alright, so let's place some switches in order to control our light fixtures. Here in the living room, typically in the living room is a place that you will find uses for 3-way, sometimes even 4-way switches. Okay, and you'll have to think about, where would I want to turn this on and off from, and then of course have the the different switches and things like that. So here in the living room, you'd typically want to be able to turn it on coming in the front door, and you'd probably want to be able to turn it on coming in from the kitchen and even coming from downstairs. So there's basically 2 locations, coming from 3 locations, but 2 locations primarily that you'd want to control those lights from so that you can turn them on before you stumble over the furniture. Which, if you remember, I hid the furniture for the living room, so the furniture is still there. And I'll show you how to unhide that in just a moment. But I'm in the living room right now, and a couple of things I can do to help myself out along the way is, I may want to hide some of my elements, such as the floor, in this case, because it can get in the way of selecting some of your light fixtures and your fans and stuff like that. And of course there's lots of things like that involved in using Revit. So it's kind of like turning layers off in AutoCAD, but we're turning elements off in Revit. So I'm going to right click on the floor, and I'm going to say hide in view, and I'm going to say category, because I'm going to hide all the floors while I do this, so nothing gets in my way. And this should, I believe, let's see, hide view. Now I think this is just going to do it on the first floor. I thought maybe it would do it on both floors, but I'm going to hide the category, so I see no floors at all whatsoever. Now they're just hidden; they're still there. And that way, it's more easy for me to select individual light fixtures and what have you. I don't know why those stairs light up every time I hover over my light fixtures, but maybe we'll find out sooner or later. Anyway, let's put some switches on this wall right here. So I'm going to go to the components. No, I'm not. I'm not going to go to the components. I'm going to go to systems. Systems tab right up here, about the 4th one down. And we're going to go to devices, electrical fixture. And when they say electrical fixture in that application, they mean a receptacle or a switch. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to go down to the type selector. And you can see right now I have a 3-way switch that's already kind of preloaded in there. If I want to load more, and actually what I do as I'm doing the electrical, because I will come across instances where I need different switches and different receptacles, I'll go to load family, go to electrical, actually. So we're going to go to the electrical folder, and we're going to go to architectural, and we're going to go to, I think, electrical power. Yes, and then we're going to go to terminals. So your light switches and your receptacles are considered terminals. Now we're strictly going to work with light fixtures or light switches first in this video, and then the next video I'll go over some receptacles. But I'm going to go ahead and select all of these to put them in the job. Okay, so what this is going to do, so not everything in Revit resides in this particular file that I'm working on. That's why I have to load families, and I have to load those families into the job so that I can use them in the job. So I'm just going to go ahead. There's only, I don't know, what is that, 12 or so electrical fixtures. I'm going to go ahead and select all those and click open. and that just puts them in the job. So when I go to select them, I can actually select them all over here through the type selector. So now they're all inside the type selector. Okay. What I want first is a three-way switch right there at the bottom. And I am going to put a three-way switch here that's going to control, let's say I want to control the fan. And the fan also has a light fixture on it. So I'm going to put a three-way switch here. And that switch itself is just going to control the fan fixture. It's going to control the light on the fan, and it's going to control the fan. Now, if I wanted to control those two separately, I would actually put two switches, one for the fan and one for the light that is on the fan. But I'm going to just use the pull chain on the fan to control the lighting and the fan itself. Okay, and next I have these can lights in here. Now I can choose to, I don't have to control both the fan and the can lights from two different locations. I primarily just want to be able to turn the lights on so I can see from two different locations. But then again, I might want to have full control over everything in those two different locations. So I'm going to put another switch for the can lights, and I want to give it room so you can see it and read it. Now this does not mean that they're going to be placed on the wall this way, and I'll show you how we deal with that. And of course most electricians would know when you have multiple light fixtures on the design on the paper like this, then that means they're going to put it in a multiple gang box. So that's two three-ways. I also have to think about the stairway lighting. There is a light up at the top of the stairwell, and I probably need to put a light somewhere here in the middle because you don't want to walk up dark stairs. So that yet includes another three-way switch. So far I've got three-way switches on there. One switch for the fan, which controls both, the fan and the light on the fan. One for the recessed lights, and then one for the stairway light. Again, that's up here at the top of the stair. Hopefully it would cast enough light to be able to illuminate most of the stairs. But if not, I'll think about putting maybe a sconce or something like here back on this wall. All right, now that I've got those light switches in place, and of course I would want to go through the house doing the same thing in all these different rooms. Same with the kitchen. I'll probably want to control the lights in the kitchen from multiple locations. So I would use a three-way. Bedrooms are a little bit different. Okay, bedrooms typically you just control from one location. So I might want say a switch double, switch single. So just a single pole switch. And some of these the namings on some of these are kind of confusing because people who make the models for these come from different backgrounds, and they kind of talk about things in different contexts and whatever. But there is a triplex. No, that's an outlet. I thought there was a double. Here's a double switch. So that actually is a double gang switch box, but it doesn't indicate what type of switch that you are putting in there, whether it's a single gang. In this case, if I used that one and put it over here on the wall, it actually wants to indicate a two-way switch. So that's really not a good one to use because they may see that and say, okay, I'm going to put a two-way switch here and not a double gang switch. So just go back and use the single switch, and we're going to place it. And when you place light fix or switches in bedrooms or wherever you're placing them, you want to place them where they're inside the door. Like if you open the door to the left, you want the switches over here to the right, and they're typically within about 6 inches or so of the door. So right here, if that says 6 and go down to about 0, that's 6 inches right there. Okay, so within about 6 inches of the door. You don't have to worry about height. Revit knows how high to place these, and we will talk more about that in just a moment. But I'm just going to put a single switch in there, and that's going to control the fan. Well, maybe I want the one switch to control the actual fan blades and one to control the lighting. So there I would put two single pole switches right inside the door and indicate that as such as well. Back to our living room. Of course I need a second location for some switches. So I'm actually going to go back to that three-way switch right here. And I'm going to put some switches right inside the door. Now, this is important. I don't think my door should be facing this way, so I'm going to double click to get out of the placement switch tool. I think this door should really be facing that way. Okay, and it just works better that way. And then I can put my switches right here on this wall. Now, of course, I'm not sure how much switches we'll be able to get in here. They might have to be installed over here on this wall. The electricians could actually make that decision once they get on site, and that is because I have these side lights that they're basically windows, and there's not a whole lot of space between those windows and my door. So I'm going to go back to my systems and my electrical device, and I'm already on a three-way switch. So I'm going to have, let's see, how did I do it over here? I had a three-way for, okay, so three-way for the cans and a three-way for the fan. So I'm going to just place these three ways along this wall and put enough space between them so that you can see them. And I might actually kind of tidy that up just a little bit when I get rid of that one. Okay, so there's two three-way switches. I don't need to control the stairway from here. I don't have to do that. But I do have an outside light fixture right there that I need to control. That's going to be on a single pole switch. So I'm going to go back to lighting devices. I'm going to go to that single pole switch, and I'm going to put a single pole right over here. And actually, I want to change the order of that around. I think that single pole for the outside light should be first, and then these two can scoot over. Okay, and I'll come back later and put an annotation on this, and I'll cover that when I go over the annotation in the video, but I'll annotate some of these and to give further instructions on what to do. Okay, so now that we have some switches in place, I can show you what to do with the wire. This is the wire tool right up here, and still we're in the Systems tab. This is the wire tool. Click on wire, and I always use the spline wire. That's almost exclusively what I use. And as I use these wires, it's very important to put curvature to the wires to make them, one, look kind of like wires, and two, so that they don't get confused with anything else in the drawing. So we can look at it and say, okay, that's definitely a wire. Because, you know, it's going to the light fixtures from the switches, and it's kind of squiggly looking. Okay, so let's start up here. I'm going to use this three-way switch on the end to control the fan. So I'm going to click at the base of it, and that's where my wires can come out of. And I'm going to do a lot of clicks. So every time you click, you create a turning point. So basically, I clicked 4 times right in there because I wanted to come out from that light. From that switch, you know, obviously. I want them to be able to obviously see these wires. And then as I go, I'll increase that distance between clicks. And I'm not going to make a zigzag line or anything like that. I'm just going to, you know, put some curvature to it. All right. And now as you click, I just hooked it up to that first light fixture can. All right. And then I have to click on the can again to start it all over, and kind of go in place some more curved lines. And as you notice, I'm kind of doing this neatly. I'm not making these zigzags all over the world. So I'm kind of using a little thought in this. I don't want my plans to look like I'm unprofessional. Okay, so I'm going around to each individual can. Okay, this is the last can. Once I make it to the last can, I'm going to circle around and go to this other three-way switch. And I want to put a little bit more curve right there. So I'm going to put a few more clicks in it. Go right to the base of it, and that'll be fine. Okay, now to finish that, you just right-click. I thought, Okay, hang on. Now hit the enter button. Okay, now enter button, that'll terminate it and you get out of it. Okay. So here we are. We have wiring from that one three-way switch going through one time through all the light cans and then back to this other three-way switch. Okay. All right, next I'll do this other three-way switch, and this is for the fan. Okay, so I'm just going to click at the base. I'm going to kind of snake it out the best way I can to keep it from crossing. Oops, I actually just made a bunch of copies of that. Let me undo. There we go. I forgot to click on the wire again. So spline wire, base of the switch, and then come out and just kind of click it several times to get that nice curve. Okay, and now I can start breaking that apart and just making some more spaces. Okay, now here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to I've got to cross a wire. You don't want to cross a wire if you don't have to, but when you do cross a wire, you need to do something like this. I'm going to come up kind of close to the wire, put a click there, and then maybe another click right here. Click here, click here. Okay, so two really quick clicks. And what I'm doing is I'm forming a loop around that. That's probably not the best loop. There are other ways of doing that. One thing I could do, let's go back a click or two. I'll tell you what, let's just undo it, start over. So again, spline wire. I know y'all love to see me start over. Okay, quick clicks, quick succession of clicks to get it curved right around all that. Excuse me. Start spreading those clicks apart. Okay, I'm going to have to cross the wires right up in here. So I'm going to bring it up right up to the wire, close to it, not all the way to it. I'm going to hit the enter button. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to start. I don't know how I got off of that, but start spline wire again. This time I'm going to start right here on the other side of the wire. Okay, put some more curves in there, go to about the center of the fixture, and then enter. All right, now what I can do is go back to the wire again. I don't know why it keeps jumping out of wire. Oh, we got to go to systems, spline wire. And actually, on this one, I think, what are some of the other options there? Arc wire. Let's do an arc wire, because what we're going to do is just going to create a single arc from here to here. That didn't work. Okay, let's delete that segment. Arc wire again. Maybe I have to go here. Okay, up here and then here. There we go. So you got to click on that second point right up there as well. And I didn't quite make a good connection, but we can probably fix that. There we go. Okay, so that tells me that this wire comes and goes over that wire. Okay, so it's important to put those crossing sections. Now, whether or not they're going to actually pay attention to that and make this wire go over that wire is a different story, and it's not really important. The important thing is that you're indicating where one wire crosses over another, so that they can plainly see where the different wire directions are. Sometimes you can cross them over so closely that this wire crosses over this wire, and it kind of blends in and looks like it goes along with this wire, which it does not. So always put that little crossing thing right there. All right, so those are our three-way, and actually I haven't finished that particular three-way, so I got to go back to spline wire, go back to the center of the fixture. Okay, and I'm going to have another crossing over here. So I'm going to take it close to it, hit the enter button, and I'm going to pick it up again over on the other side. A lot of quick successions of clicks until I get it to the base. Okay, and again we need to put that arc on there. So we click at the start point, click up here at the midpoint, and then click down here. And it didn't make quite as much as an arc as I wanted it to, so we'll just kind of make it arc a little bit more. All right, so there we go. And I think I can get rid of that. There we go. All right, so finish that one. Now we're finished with the 3 ways. And I would do this too on the stairs going up to the upstairs. This one, I'll go ahead and draw it out. Because it's going to meet another wire coming from downstairs. Okay, I'm going to come out. I'm not going to run it all the way upstairs. I want to stay clear of that up symbol as well. And I'll end it right there where that cutoff is, that separation line or that cut line. And then on the second floor, I'll have a wire coming from this fixture up here going down to that point. Okay, and then they will understand what that means actually when they see it. Okay, so yes, hallways, they get light switches as well. I haven't done a hallway light switch because I don't really need to right now. But I am going to show you the single pole and how that works. So the single pole, it's real simple. Now, some people think that you need to like go to the fixture and then circle back around and come back to the switch. No, that's not how it works. Okay, so I'm going to click on the base, quick succession of clicks to make a good curve right there. I can spread those clicks apart and go to the fixture. And then I will start another wire for the fan. Okay, so this one's going to control the fan. And I'll indicate that too in annotations, which switch controls the light, which one controls the fan. And then enter. Okay, so basically the switch to the fan is just one wire. You know, one wire for the light, one wire for the fan, unless you just want one switch to control both the light and the fan, because I can easily just allow the occupant to control the fan with the pull chains that pull down with just a single switch. Okay, so that is light switches in a nutshell. I know that was a long video, but there's just a lot to go over and a lot to do. I hope I didn't bore you too much there. But anyway, let's get our lighting done, and I'll come back on the next video and show you how to do the receptacles. That one should be a short one because it does not require wires. It's just simple placement of receptacles throughout the room.